Alrighty, so it is late, but it is time to do the review in terms of the remaining 8 games that happen on Friday and Saturday in terms of match week number 18, and also because it's late. That means I'll probably upload this video, but I won't schedule for this video to be published on my channel until tomorrow morning because, for those that are pretty much die-hard in terms of watching these videos, I don't want those people to kind of wake up in the middle of the morning and have the notification bell and realize, oh, what's going on? Why do I have to wake up at 3 in the morning? Oh, yeah, because Blue's not just uploaded, and now I, of course, have to watch this video. So, yeah, hence that's why I am going to basically schedule this video to be published tomorrow, probably around 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time is when I'll publish this video on my channel, looking at the 8 games that happen on Friday and Saturday. And let us actually get straight into the first game, which is between the San Jose Earthquakes versus the Vancouver Whitecaps, which seems like it was a while ago because this game took place on Friday. And this actually was the only game that ended scoreless in terms of match week number 18. And, we have seen a couple of 0-0 draws so far this season, and there's definitely some 0-0 draws this season that are very entertaining to watch. And the only reason why the game kind of ended 0-0 was neither team really were able to capitalize their opportunity, or there was kind of a goalkeeping duel that was going on, and both goalkeeper was just determined to not be beaten after 90 minutes. This, however, was not one of those 0-0 draw that was entertaining whatsoever. In fact, for those that, of course, have attended, which includes myself, because I attended this game, I do feel sorry for you, and I'm going to admit that this is probably one, if not the most boring Quakes game that I have watched, and almost kind of goes back to the days when Dominic Kintner was coaching this team, and how it feels like every Quakes game was very boring to watch because there was really nothing go on for a majority of this game. Though, that being said, early in this game, it definitely looked like the Whitecaps were threatening to get the opening goal, as Owusu actually blazed it high from long range in the 4th minute. And it was a lot of possession early for the Whitecaps, which, again, this is very unusual because the Whitecaps, usually they're not a possession kind of team, and they're a team that tends to just let the opposition have the possession so they can, of course, counter on the other end. And I guess maybe this is just kind of tactics that Almeida realized that, let's just give the Whitecaps some possession, and let's see if they can, of course, break us down, and maybe we'll try to hit them on the counter and almost kind of take a page out of Mark Dos Santos' page. Now, despite that plan kind of didn't work out and almost cost the Quakes to go down 1-0 in this game, as Mark Sinkowski was able to deny Brian White in the 6th minute, and I wrote it was a shaky start from the Quakes in possession, was 60-40 in favor of Vancouver, and the Quakes passing was basically non-existent because, that's kind of the reason why they weren't having a lot of possession, because when your passing is non-existent and you can't get out of your own half, that's pretty much a definition of you're just getting pinned deep by your opposition, and that's what the Quakes was, at least in the first 20 minutes of this game. Now, in the 30th minute, Kripo was able to deny Ibobasi in the back post. I thought Ibobasi was okay in this game. I thought he actually had a better game in this one compared to the one that he had against LAFC, and he actually got very unfortunate to not score, because later on I'll tell you how he actually hit the post and almost gave the Quakes the opening on what could have been the only goal in this game. Before just 1 minute later, Espinosa kind of tried to go for Olympico, although I don't think this will count as Olympico because this was a corner that, they took it short, and then Espinosa was trying to whip in, almost kind of try to score Olympico on that. And if that happens, I don't think it's count as an Olympico, but it was kind of a very Olympico-esque kind of goal, but is blocked on the line by Andy Rose before Espinosa tees one up from 24 yards out, but he missed wide. And the Quakes started to show some life on offense after it was pretty lifeless for the majority of the first half, but we had to halftime scoreless between the Whitecaps and the Quakes. Now, in the second half, not much happening. In the first 15 minutes of the second half, and as I mentioned a moment ago, Ibobasi almost gave the Quakes the opener, but he hits the post. Tiber then drive one wide in the 63rd minute, and really as the game winds down, this is when the Quakes really started to control possession, but they couldn't do anything with the possession, and because of the fact that they couldn't do anything with the possession, and also the Whitecaps, who, they're starting to go back to to what they used to do, which is trying to sit deep and maybe get on the counterattack to create some chances. It just wasn't there for them. So as a result those combination, you get a very boring last 20 minutes where nothing really happened, except in the third minute of stoppage time when Fierro basically hits that one wide. And in the end, it ends in a stale 0-0 draw between the Quakes and the Whitecaps. And the shots in this game, 12 shots compared to 11 that the Whitecaps had. Both teams had 3 shots on goal. 4 shots off target compared to 6 that the Whitecaps had. 5 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Whitecaps had. And possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that the Vancouver Whitecaps had in this game. And, you know, for the Whitecaps, that's now 5 straight draw that they had. And they could maybe make some history if they can maybe draw one more time in their next game, and it will tie the record for the most consecutive draw in MLS, although I don't think that was a record that they were aiming for in the beginning of the season, but at least it's kind of something. But for the Quakes, you know, their unbeaten run is now extended to 8 games, which, you know, that's the good news. And also the other good news is other team around them weren't able to get wins, so they kind of gained some ground in terms of trying to get themselves back above the red line. But here's the bad news. Other team, of course, lost around them, which is, if they could have won this game, they would have been above the red line. And especially with the way that, you know, you're playing at home, and you're playing against one of the worst teams in the league, this is kind of a game they have to get all 3 points. And, you know, I just hope this is not going to be one of those games that's going to come back to haunt the Quakes. And the other thing that I am kind of starting to worry about this team is the fact that they are starting to look very dominant there, and kind of a team that just have problem to create a lot of chances. And, you know, I will say this, you know, as much as it is kind of, they're starting to look more like a Dominic Kinnear kind of team, at least they're not giving me like heart attack like what Almeida decided to do with the man marking system. And I know a lot of people are now kind of frustrated that the Quakes revert back to the original way, but for me, I don't mind if they revert back to their original way, because as fun as the Almeida ball that the man marking system was, it can be very frustrating when it completely gone wrong and the Quakes are just getting blowout weeks in and weeks out, and you just don't see it now anymore because of the fact that they're reverting back to a system that most teams usually do, which is kind of zonal marking. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be Montreal versus the New York Red Bulls, and this, no doubt, was one of the craziest games of this weekend's action. And if it wasn't for the 5-2 that Nashville and DC play, and then of course the 6-2 that I've just talked about a couple of minutes ago between the Sounders versus the Timbers in that Cascadia derby, this one would be right up there as one of the craziest game of this weekend's action. And the crazy thing happened in stoppage time, and we'll definitely get to that a little bit now to talk about the madness that was in stoppage time in terms of the penalty kicks. But in the first half, there was a couple of half chances for Montreal early, but it was the Red Bulls, the one that had the best chance, or the first real chance, as Sean Davis had a diving header that goes wide in the 13th minute. But then Cornell absolutely robbed Brookie yards from point range as Montreal almost had the opening goal before Charnier puts it wide from 14 yards out. But then, before the half end, there was a penalty that was given to the Red Bulls as Guzman was actually brought down by Kiki Struna, and the Red Bulls basically took advantage of that penalty as Kamala was able to bury the penalty spot and give the Red Bulls a 1-0 lead right at the death of the first half. So we head to the second half with the Red Bulls leading 1-0 against Montreal. Montreal was definitely pressing to try to get the equalizer. Cornell denied Charnier from long range before Mason Toy had a big opportunity to score on goal as he went through on goal. And with how good of a form that Mason Toy has had this season with Montreal, you would think that he, of course, would score that one. But unfortunately, he missed the target here in the 68th minute. But Montreal eventually do get the equalizer. And in the 71st minute, it's Ibrahim scoring for Mihailovic to tie the game up for Montreal. And as the game winds down, you know, you're thinking maybe Montreal with the equalizer and the momentum, they can get that second goal. But no, instead, it's actually the Red Bulls, the one that looked like they had the momentum and trying to get the winner as they were kind of controlling the last 10 minutes of the game. Fernandez just missed wide from close range in the 88th minute, and this is when we get into the penalty kick fiasco that happened in stoppage time. So, first of all, there was a penalty that was given to Montreal as Tarek handball that one in the box. That obviously wasn't the thing that makes this penalty kick fiasco go crazy, because that was clearly a handball by Omar Tariq. But this is where the penalty fiasco began. So originally, Cornell was able to deny Bjorn Johnson from the spot, and you thought, well, that's a great save from Cornell, and the game remains tied. But the problem is, Cornell was off his line too early, and they go to VAR to see whether or not that's the case, and it did. So Cornell was being told off and given a warning for coming off his lines a little bit too early from the penalty spot, and Montreal was granted a retake. So on the second attempt, Montreal decided to switch their penalty kick taker and let Mason Toy to trying to convert from the spot, but the problem is Mason Toy weren't able to convert it, as once again Cornell came big to deny him, and this ball was actually cleared away. And I think on the MSG feed, Steve Nilsson even said that, oh, it's the full-time whistle, looks like it's going to end in a 1-1 draw, and Cornell was the reason why the Red Bulls were able to get a point out of this game. But here's the problem. The whistle wasn't actually the full-time whistle, but more of a whistle that they're going to go to VAR again to see whether or not if Cornell came off his lines again. And this time, he did. He did kind of a stutter step and was clearly off his lines for the second time. So, because this is the second time coming off his lines, by the new rule, he, of course, gets a yellow card. And Montreal was granted a third attempt in terms of taking this penalty. And once again, they decided to change the penalty kick taker. This time it was Victor Wanyama, the one that has a chance to give Montreal the lead on this third penalty kick attempt. And on the third penalty attempt, Wanyama was able to put away. And in many ways, that penalty was probably the worst one out of the three that Montreal has had. And Cornell is going to be very frustrated because he clearly had a hand of that one, but he was just not strong enough to push that one away. And in the end, after just a crazy kind of penalty kick fiasco we had in stoppage time. And oh, by the way, there was also 5 more minutes after this, so they literally play until the 104th minute, but nothing really happened in terms of the last 5 minutes, as Montreal was able to hold on of what is one of the craziest ending we've seen so far this season. I mean, at the end of the day, the referee did get everything right, but it's not every day you see a team had 3 tries in terms of trying to score a penalty, and a situation where the goalkeeper come off his line twice. And especially, with the new rules, obviously our referee have been instructed to the goalkeeper that you just simply cannot put your foot off the line. Like, even if you're maybe an inch or two off the line, you're gonna be caught with encroachment. And unfortunately for Cornell, both times it was pretty clear that he came off his lines early, and both times was justified the fact that Montreal gets a chance to do a retake, which again, eventually they did get it on the third attempt and win this one 2-1. But the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to the 14 that the Red Bulls had, 6 shots on goal compared to the 4 that the Red Bulls had, 8 shots off target compared to the 6 that the Red Bulls had, 2 shots on block compared to the 4 that the Red Bulls had, and possession-wise, 63% possession compared to 37% possession. And for Montreal, they kind of snapped out of a bit of a rough patch that they've been going through, and they're able to stay above the red line in 7 plays. But for the Red Bulls, that's not the same case. I mean, this is a really tough loss for them, and now they are drifting away even further in terms of a chance to catch Montreal for that last spot in the playoffs in the East. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is the other New York team, which is NYCFC, and after NYCFC, of course, suffer their own disappointing penalty kick shootout that happened in the League Cup against Pumas, they were able to come back strong in this one and win 2-0 against Inter Miami. But if you're Inter Miami, this has to be a very infuriating game, because I thought Miami played very well in this game, but the only issue for Miami in this game is that they couldn't finish. And early on, if they could have finished, they probably could have been 1-0 up, because in the 11th minute, Johnson was able to deny Morgan from the free kick, as I thought Miami definitely were the better team early in this game. But then Morgan took a shot that took a wicked deflection that actually almost redirected the Toro goal. And then in the 20th minute, just kind of out of nowhere, NYCFC take the lead. And it's Tati Castellanos who scored from Maxi Morales to give NYCFC a 1-0 lead. Again, completely against the run of play. But that didn't really kind of seems to to bother Inter Miami, because just 2 minutes later, they thought they got the equalizer, and in many ways, this should have been the equalizer, as Gonzalo Higuain basically went through on goal, and pretty much 99 out of 100 time when Higuain goes through on goal, you know that he's going to bury this one, and he did kind of try to chip Johnson in here to kind of chip the goalkeeper, but unfortunately that chip was just a little bit too powerful as it rattled the post, and NYCFC was very fortunate that they did not concede straight away after they took the lead. But then 7 minutes later, Gibbs have a long-range effort that also took a wicked deflection, but this time it missed wide. But there was no doubt that Miami was pushing for the equalizer. But then in the 33rd minute, NYCFC had another chance to score against the run of plays, and in many ways they should have done it, because Tati Castellanos, who of course scored that first goal, well, he basically went through on goal, and he had a big opportunity to get his second goal and get a brace, but he basically went full Tati Castellanos. And if you don't know what a full Tati Castellanos is basically he missed some of the most simplest shot, and this is kind of the reason why Tati Castellanos haven't regarded as one of the hottest prospects in MLS, and maybe get shipped to Europe anytime soon, because the finishing is the only thing that is lacking in his game. And if he can just improve in terms of his finishing, I mean, I wouldn't say his finishing is terrible, but it's just so inconsistent. I mean, there's times where he can able to bury some easy shot, and there's times that some of the easiest shots that is actually harder to miss than to score, he somehow missed it. And this was just another example of it, where it's really harder to miss in that opportunity than actually score that chance, and somehow in some way Tati Castellanos weren't able to put that one away, and the game remains at 1-0. But then in the 39th minute, Max Morales tried to give NYCFC the 2-0 lead, as he tried to chip Marsman there, but it missed high. And I also thought that there was just too many WTF turnover from Miami. Like, literally almost every single chances that NYCFC had in the first half was all because of bad turnover that Inter Miami basically caused in their own half. And then in the first minute of stoppage time, a penalty was given to NYCFC, as Leerdam was whistled for a handball in the box that gave NYCFC the penalty, which Castellanos was able to bury that penalty to give NYCFC a 2-0 lead heading into halftime, despite the fact that Miami was the better team. Now, in the second half, Maxi Morales did try to curl one, but it goes wide, although chances was kind of really far from few in the second half, which, you know, favorites NYCFC because they were leading this game. Johnson then denied Morgan from long range in the 68th minute before Castellanos trying to go for a hat-trick as he's trying to chip it over Marsman, but unfortunately that one missed one. And then as time winds down and Miami did try to desperately maybe at least get a consolation goal, Leerdam had an opportunity to do so, but he hits it straight to Sean Johnson. And in the end, NYCFC were able to win 2-0 against Inter Miami, as the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 7 that Miami has, 3 shots on goal compared to 4 that Miami has, 7 shots off target compared to 1 that Inter Miami has. Both teams had 2 shots that was blocking possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that Inter Miami has in this game. And like I said, great bounce-back win for NYCFC. They're now up to second in the East. But for Inter Miami, this has got to be an infuriating result, and especially of how hot they've been. You expect that this team, with the form that they in, and especially with the way that they played, they should be able to walk away with at least a point out of this game. And the fact that they didn't, they're definitely going to look back at this game as a huge missed opportunity to continue the momentum that they've been building in these last couple of weeks. But that being said, moving on into the next game, and the last game on this board, is TFC and New England. So in the battle between the team at the top of the table versus the team at the bottom of the table, it's the team at the top of the table that is able to get the victory. Although, like I said, you know, in the preview, I thought that, you know, even though this is a battle between the top of the team in the table against the team at the bottom of the table, I thought TFC was going to maybe cause New England some trouble, because they're starting to get a little bit more healthy, starting to get some of their most important players back in the starting 11, and throughout this game they kind of look dangerous at times, but unfortunately they weren't able to put away chances. And you know, I said this many times before, when you play against a good team and you don't put away the chances that you're given, you're going to be basically be punished and potentially not get the victory. Although, in the first half, 20 minutes into the game, Buchanan was able to score from DeJuan Jones to give the refs a 1-0 lead. There was a shout for a handball in the box for TFC in the 29th minute, and while there was a shout in the box, usually when players said that there's a potential penalty and they basically shout for it, usually a lot of them just kind of stop, but Achara doesn't seem like he got the message, as he still took a shot, and that one actually came close from equalizing for TFC because it actually struck the post. But 11 minutes later, Bai puts one wide on the volley as we do head to halftime with New England up 1-0 against Toronto. Now in the second half, there was another shout for a penalty for TFC in the box, and again, it was not given. Delgado had a point-blank range that goes straight to Matt Turner, and Toronto was definitely pressing for the equalizer. Saltado did try to curl one in from 25 yards out, but that one goes high. Before Bono absolutely robbing Gustavo Bo on a one-on-one opportunity, and that was one of the rare chances that New England has, but a chance to really kill the game off. And there was also a fall up there, as Bono, he didn't really quite did a good job pushing that one away, but Bo unfortunately wasn't able to slot it home, and in fact it was actually Priso, the one with a heroic clearance off the line to deny New England a chance to go 2-0 up. And that would come back to be a huge play, because 11 minutes later, Osorio would score from Pozuelo and Saltado to give TFC the equalizer. But unfortunately, that equalizer wouldn't last long, because New England would actually get a penalty in the 81st minute after Buxall was brought down by Zavaleta. I mean, that was just a sloppy kind of challenge from Zavaleta to Buxall, and it gives a chance for New England to take the lead back, which they do. It's Gustavo Bo able to put away the penalty to give New England the lead back. As the time winds down, TFC tried to push for an equalizer, but it wasn't meant to be, as in the end, New England able to hold on to a 2-1 win. And the shots in this game, 10 shots compared to the 9 that TFC had, 4 shots on goal compared to the 2 that the refs had, 5 shots off target compared to the 3 that TFC had, 2 shots that was blocked compared to the 3 that New England has, and possession-wise, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that New England has in this game. And again, this has got to be a frustrating game for TFC, knowing the fact that, they didn't really play badly in this game, but again, not able to get any points, and, it's now getting to a stage where they have to start get some points if they want to make this second half resurgent, because they're starting to run out of time to do so, especially of them sitting at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. But for New England, they just cannot stop winning, and that has to frustrate a lot of team in the league, not just in the East, but also some teams in the West, especially the team at the top of the Western Conference, that is Sporting KC. They got to be frustrated the fact that they want to have a chance to maybe be in the Supporters' Shield race, and New England is basically pulling away, and the gap in terms of Supporters' Shield race is now once again back to 7 points, and it was actually at double digit at one point. But as I mentioned, as I will talk about a little bit later, SKC was able to get their victory and get a win, and that lead is now restored back to 7 points. Which, speaking of which, I'm going to change boards now and talk about FC Dallas versus SKC next. So, as I said, SKC was able to get a victory as they were able to win 2-0 against FC Dallas. And in some way, this game was kind of very similar to the last time both of these teams met, where the home team really dominated and had a majority of the chances, but weren't able to put away their chances. And the road team was being very ruthless in terms of putting away their chances. And in the end, the road team, of course, were able to win. Only this time, it's kind of reverse role. It's Dallas, the one that is the home team, and they had tons of chances to at least get a goal in this one, but weren't able to do so. And SKC was just being more of a ruthless kind of team, and able to walk away with all 3 points in this game and getting 2 goals in the process. Now, in the second minute, Mauer was able to deny Sean from close range. I'm thinking of the Minnesota versus Galaxy game, which, by the way, that game I actually are going to talk about that one last. I was originally going to talk about that game second, but I kind of got the order. They're all wrong in terms of it. So that's why that game is gonna be talked about last. But yeah, it's actually Jimmy Maurer, not Tyler Miller, able to deny shown from close range. Although Miller might have his work cut out in the next weekend's match, because next weekend Minnesota is going to be taking on Sporting KC at Allianz Field. Now in the 6th minute, Polito free kick goes just wide. Before I thought both teams was getting good chances early in the game, but SKC were the one that were able to capitalize on their good early chance, as Polito able to score from Kinda and not Polito again. Oh my god, I'm just making a lot of mistake in terms of this. By the way, I was writing this board when I was still watching some of the games, so apologies if I did make some mistake here, but I believe it was actually Russell, the one that got the secondary assist. I mean, Polito can't get a secondary assist if he, of course, score a goal there. But either way, it's 1-0 in favor of SKC. But 19 minutes in, Holland's had a chance to equalize, but he hits the side netting before he had a close range shot that unfortunately hits it just wide, as Dallas was really pushing for the equalizer, but they weren't able to get it before the halftime whistle, as SKC were able to lead 1-0 heading into the second half. Now in the second half, the post was the story for the second half, and in some way, I think SKC must be kissing the post after this victory too, because Dallas basically hit the post 3 times in this game. The first one was Pepe, who struck the post as he tried to round Tim Melia, and the form that Ricardo Pepe is in, you would definitely fancy he would actually put that one away, but he was denied by the post there. Before Quignon missed wide from close range, and then Pepe had another chance to score, but his shot was deflected wide. Dallas was no doubt knocking on the door for the opener. Shroom became the latest victim to hit the post as he struck the post despite having an empty net to shoot. And actually that one kind of bounced off the post and actually looked like it was going to bounce in, but it literally bounced on the line and out. So very bad luck there for FC Dallas. And unfortunately that bad luck continued, because 4 minutes later, SKC was able to get the second goal. It's Daniel Showery, another striker that has been red hot lately, as he scored from Johnny Russell and Polito. And I also kind of wrote momentum killer, because Dallas was knocking on the door for the equalizer, and the last thing they want is to give up a goal against the run of play again, and it happened in this one. But that being said, despite the fact that I did wrote that as a momentum killer, they actually had another chance to get one back and get their first goal of the game, as O'Brien become the third victim of the post for FC Dallas, as he struck this one from close range before Maurer had to deny Polito in the 74th minute to prevent SKC to really kind of kill this game up and put this game in all doubt. Acosta then drags it wide from close range in the 81st minute, and despite the fact that FC Dallas did try to push to maybe get a late goal for a consolation, they weren't able to do so, as in the end, SKC were able to walk away with all 3 points in this one, as the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 11 that SKC had, 2 shots on goal compared to 6 that SKC had, 8 shots off target compared to 2 that SKC had, 6 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that SKC had, and possession-wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. And also, with this win, SKC are still at the top of the Western Conference, and they pretty much confirmed that, because even if the Seattle Sounders won in the Cascadia Derby, which they did so tonight, they still trail SKC in terms of a point. And for Dallas, I'm going to kind of say the same thing I said with the Quakes, where, the good news is at least the team around them weren't able to pick up victory, so they didn't really lose any ground in terms of the playoff race in the Western Conference. But on the other hand, the bad news is they could have had a chance to go above the red line if they could have got a win in this game, and could have been a little bit more clinical, and also maybe not get victimized by the post so many times. But yeah, this is just a very unlucky kind of resort for FC Dallas. And the next game is not going to be easy, because they're going to be playing against the Seattle Sounders that is definitely on cloud 9 after what happened tonight in the Cascadia Derby. But now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is Colorado versus the Houston Dynamo. So speaking of missed opportunity, this was a game that was filled with missed opportunity from both teams. And in the end, the Rapids, again, just like SKC, just did enough in terms of being the more ruthless one in terms of the chances that they put away. and they were able to win 3-1 in this one. And at least early on in this game, they looked like they were going to run away with this one because Kellen Costa had a looping header that Maric has to tip it over before Diego Rubio long-range effort that just goes a little bit wide. But then 1 minute later, they would get the opening goal, and really on the next sequence of play, Lalo Abubakar was able to score from the corner from Jack Price. I mean, that's just kind of a trademark Colorado Rapids goal, especially with how good Jack Price delivered those free kicks. He puts it on an absolute dime, which Abubakar was able to head that one away to give the Rapids a 1-0 lead. Before Barrios trying to hit one, but it goes wide on a free header in the 14th minute. And Colorado was just all over Houston early in this game, but the Dynamo did start to wake up. In the 21st minute, Urruti goes through on goal, but puts a weak shot to William Yarbrough before Yarbrough did deny Urruti from long range, and then denying Dorsey just 2 minutes later. And as I said, Dynamo, after a slow start, have definitely woke up, and they were definitely looking to try to tie this game up. And they had a big opportunity to do so right before the half because a penalty was given to the Dynamo after Barrios brought down Figueroa in the box, which Pico was able to convert that penalty, and the game was all tied up as we head into the second half. So we go to the second half, and in the second half, Bassett unfortunately struck the post on the header. I mean, Bassett, I talked about there's been times where he has had some very unlucky game and probably deserved to have a goal, and this was just one of them. I mean, he was kind of snake bit in this game, and it wouldn't be the last time he would hit the post. But 3 minutes later, Shiki tried to curl one in, but it goes wide. And again, Colorado, like they did in the first half, they were off to a good start into the second half, and just like they were off to a good start in the first half and able to be rewarded with a goal, they did the same thing in the second half. As in the 60th minute, Barrios was able to score from Marc-Anthony Kaye and Diego Rubio. Always great to see Marc-Anthony Kaye on the assist chart, and there's no doubt that he has already made an instant impact ever since he has come to the Colorado Rapids from LAFC. But also for Barrios, you know, he's doing what he used to do during his day with FC Dallas, continue to haunt the Houston Dynamo, and you know, I think the Dynamo are probably getting sick of seeing Barrios score on them, and unfortunately they have to see him score on them once again in this game. Now, in the 67th minute, Yarbrough absolutely robbed Mateus Vera from close range before Carrasquilla had a chance from long range, but he launched that one wide. And then in the 73rd minute, as I said before, Bassett, who was just really snake bit in this game, he struck the post for the second time in the 73rd minute. But as snake bit is, he at least did get on the assist chart, as in the 80th minute, the Rapids pretty much killed this game off. It's Brian Galvan scoring an absolute golazo from Bassett and Trusty, and I would have put goal of the week with a question mark, but after what we saw in that Cascadia derby, yeah, let's just say I don't think there's any conversation of what the goal of the week is going to be. But nevertheless, that was a great goal from Brian Galvan to kill this game off. And really, as the game winds down, you can tell that the Rapids knew that they are pretty close to get a victory. So they just kind of shut down shop, trying to sit deep and trying to hold on to this 2-goal lead. Although the Dynamo did have a chance for a consolation, and what a good consolation this could have been if Memo Rodriguez goes on his bike and could have put this one away. But unfortunately, it goes straight to William Yarbrough. As in the end, Colorado was able to win 3-1 against the Houston Dynamo. And the shots in this game, a bunch of shots in this one. 25 shots compared to 15 that Colorado has. There was like 40 shots that was combined in this game. 10 shots on goal for the 6 that the Rapids had. 9 shots off target for the 6 that the Rapids had. 6 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Rapids had. And the possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession. And despite the fact that there was a lot of shots and a lot of chance for both team, it was the Rapids the one that capitalized on more of the opportunity. And in the end, they do get all 3 points and continue to keep pace in terms of the top 3 team in the Western Conference. But now moving on in terms of the next match. Oh, and one more thing I would say about this game for the Dynamo. Yeah, you know, this was just... I think this was probably one of the best games that the Dynamo has played doing this winless run. But unfortunately, that winless run continue, and it's now at up to 12 game in terms... Or no, not up to 12. Up to 13 games now. And are actually now kind of tied with the longest winless run that any team this season has had. And that, of course, was the Quakes. But hey, maybe 13 is, they might get a victory, and the lucky 13 number might finally, or I wouldn't say a lucky 13, but an unlucky 13 number can finally come to an end, and maybe they could get a victory to end their winless run, because, as I said, a long winless run eventually is going to come to an end, and I have faith that the Dynamo eventually will get a victory down the line. But then this week was not the week for them to finally end their long winless run. But now moving on into the next match, and that, of course, is RSL versus Austin FC. So for Austin FC, yeah, I mean, I've said this many times before, but I'm fortunate I have to repeat myself again. They just cannot finish. And it's the real reason why they are losing these games, because that as soon as this team do give up a goal, you knew this team is not going to come back, because they just don't have anybody to finish. And despite the fact of how hard they try to put the ball into the back of the net, and they just aren't able to do so. And early on, though, in the 3rd minute of this game, Dominguez did have a chance from close range, but he hits that one wide before Fagundes did the same thing as he hits it wide in the back post. Again, Austin started out the better side, but I've seen this story before where it doesn't matter if Austin started the better side. If they aren't able to put the ball into the back of the net, then yeah, it's going to be a long night for them. But despite the fact that Austin started the better side, RSL did eventually woke up. Stuver absolutely robbed Dukanovic from a point-blank effort. And I'll tell you what, Brad Stuver, he probably heard what I said back when I give my mid-season award ceremony, and he probably took it personally when he saw that video. So he decided to really kind of stood on his head again and prove why he definitely deserved to be the goalkeeper of the year this season. But in the 27th minute, Fagundes unfortunately struck the post, which, that's just been the luck that Austin has had this season. And then on the follow-up, Pochettino had a chance on the header, but he missed that one wide. Before Krylak was left completely unmarked, but he got his header all wrong as it hits that one wide. And I also kind of just wrote, this game looks like it just needs a goal. It seems like the MLS gods kind of saw this and said, yep, we'll give you a goal. It happened in the 31st minute as Bobby Wood would score from Mendes to give RSL a 1-0 lead. Great to see Bobby Wood, of course, score that goal, and also celebrating in front of his family. Definitely a very good feel-good story there. But just 6 minutes later, Austin did have a chance to tie the game up as Pochettino blasts a close-range effort, but that one missed wide. And we had to have time with RSL leading 1-0, and Austin's chances of potentially coming back heading into the second half was definitely slashed, because in the 49th minute, they were down to 10 men as Cascante commit a denial of goal score opportunity. They go to VAR to see whether or not if it is, and indeed it is. So he, of course, was sent off, and Austin was down to 10 men. And this is when RSL really realized that, yeah, they are going to start to smell blood and wants the second goal. As Krylak pulls it wide from long range in the 51st minute before Rusnak shot is deflected and goes just a little bit high. I mentioned RSL was pushing for the second goal and tried to kill this game off, but Stuver was having none of it, because he was able to deny Rusnak in the 79th minute, or actually no, not Rusnak, but Michael Chan in the 79th minute. And really, as the final, or as the game went on, RSL was still trying to get that second goal, but ultimately they weren't able to do so. But the good news is they still were able to walk away with a 1-0 victory. And as the final whistle was blown, the Austin player on the bench actually got a straight red, and I'm not quite sure who exactly it is, because I didn't really watch this game, and I watched the condensed version of this, and the RSL feed basically said there was like a red card that was shown to one of the Austin player on the bench because he did something that was wearing a red card. So yeah, that I'll just kind of leave it to that. And also, since the league website didn't show exactly who got that red card, besides showing the red card that Cascante got early in this game, I have no idea who exactly is that player. But ultimately, as I mentioned, RSL was able to get the 1-0 lead, and they were really kind of the only true team that was below the red line that benefit from winning a game, because again, all the teams that were around the bubble in the Western Conference either lost or draw their game. and RSL took full advantage of that, getting all 3 points and getting themselves above the red line. But in terms of the stats, 15 shots compared to the 16 that Austin has, 8 shots on goal compared to the 1 that Austin has, 3 shots off target compared to the 7 that Austin has, 4 shots that was blocked compared to the 2 that Austin has, and possession-wise, 43% possession compared to the 57% possession that Austin FC has in this game. But now moving on into, finally, the last game on this board, and the game that I was supposed to talk about a little bit earlier, but again, I didn't put this back on the second board, and I didn't realize after when I wrote this game and put all the notes here, so that's why this game is kind of a little bit out of order. But this is also the first game from the Saturday action, and in some way you can maybe say that I'm kind of going backwards, and again kind of going out of order a little bit, which is kind of something I've been doing in terms of the review. First reviewing the Sunday game, and then the Cascadia Derby, and now reviewing all these other games from Fridays and Saturday. But in terms of the first game on Saturday, it was the Galaxy pull off an impressive 1-0 road win against Minnesota. And, when I watched this game really reminds me of what happened in 2019 in the playoffs, where the Loons had tons of chances in that game, but they weren't able to put it away because, a combination of bad finishing and David Bingham basically played out of his mind. And the Galaxy basically score a couple of sucker punch goals to win 2-1 in that game. And it just felt like this was kind of similar to that, where this time it's Jonathan Kinsman, the one that is acting the David Bingham role, basically making some big save to keep the Loons off the board. And the Galaxy just kind of had that one moment where they were able to take advantage of it. Well, I wouldn't say one moment. They actually had a couple of moments to score more than 1 goal. But really, that was kind of like the first half, where they kind of, for a majority of the first half, they just had that one moment to score the opening goal, and they were able to take advantage of it. But in the second minute, Kinsman was able to rob Finley from point blank, as I thought there was a lot of possession from the Loons early, but I also kind of wrote, beware the Galaxy break, because it feels like there were times where the Galaxy did look threatening whenever they go on the break. But in the 21st minute, Dotson basically puts wide from long range. By the way, at the end of the game, there was a stat saying that when Hassani Dotson is played on the wide area, the Loons actually have like a 1-5 record, which kind of makes me wonder, why in the world did Adrian Heath decide to put Hassani Dotson in the wing? Like, you knew that putting him in the wing was a bad idea, and yet he still did it in this game. I mean, I know that's not one of the things that kind of frustrates me about this game, but after hearing that stats, I'm like, it doesn't work. Like, why did you decided to do so in this game when you didn't really need to? But in the 28th minute, Hunu should have scored, as he had a diving free header that missed wide. By the way, I am really concerned about Adrian Hunu right now, because, he is starting to come very close in terms of joining that unwanted club called the number 9 curse club, where you're just not allowed to score a goal if you are a number 9 when you go for a goal drought. And right now, ever since he come to this team, you've only scored 1 goal in his 6 appearance. And I said before, there's just something about the number 9 position on this Minnesota team that we really have never had a true number 9 ever since Christian Ramirez left this team. I mean, some would say Darwin Quintero was the closest one, but he wasn't really a true 9. And we know the disaster of Angelino Rodriguez that we tried to replace the product that Christian Ramirez had with this team. But again, there's just really, ever since Christian Ramirez left, the Loons just never had a true number 9. It seems like whoever takes that number 9 position are just bound to not allow to score a goal, and it seems like Adrian Hunu has become the latest person, and I'm just hoping eventually that's not going to be the case and he can snap out of this fun. But yeah, after that, I did kind of wrote the Loons was pressing for the opener. Reynoso did put one wide from long range. I thought Reynoso had a good game in this one. I mean, I know, yes, on the score sheet and on the stat chart it doesn't show, but Reynoso was trying very hard to give the Loons at least a goal in this game. But it's just, once again, finishing has let down this team. And it kind of let down this team, at least for the majority part of the first half too, because in the 42nd minute, the Galaxy not equalize, but they go ahead in the 42nd minute, as Kevin Cabral, a guy that I've said a couple weeks ago was belonging in that club, unwanted club of a striker that is being cursed and just are not allowed to score a goal. Well, he finally broke that curse last week, and it seems like we're starting to see he has started to heat up a little bit as he scored from Jovic to give the Galaxy a 1-0 lead. And again, it was just completely against the run of play because the Loons were by far the better team, and that kind of rattled the Loons too, because just 3 minutes later they could have went 2-0 down if it wasn't for Brent Coleman with a heroic goal line clearance after a looping header that Efren Alvarez put. But as we head to halftime, the Loons were able to get to that stage, only down 1-0 against the Galaxy. Now, in the second half, Kinsman absolutely robbed Greg Gooch on the header in the 58th minute before Alvarez rocket a volley that is tipped over by Miller. Cabral did have a chance in the 71st minute to score that second goal, and probably should have scored that second goal from 2 yards out, but unfortunately he kind of looked like his old self of being in that unwanted club of a cursed striker in MLS, and he basically put that one into Rosette from 2 yards out. Now, in the 77th minute, Kinsman would rob Agudelo from long range, and this was just an incredible save from Jonathan Kinsman, who, again, he probably played the game of his life in this one, because this one was bounced for the top right, and I thought there's just no way a goalkeeper can, of course, save that kind of shot, but Jonathan Kinsman proved me wrong. He, with a full stretch, able to deny Agudelo from long range there. And I also kind of wrote after that, it just looked like Kinsman is going to be refused to be beaten in this game, no matter what the Loons were trying to put against him. Because in the 81st minute, Finley puts it over the bar as that one was actually deflected wide. Before, in the second minute of stoppage time, Kinsman absolutely robbed Reynoso, who again put a beautiful free kick. Looked like it was aiming to the top right corner, but Kinsman, full stretch, was able to deny it there. Before he would rob DeBossi in the 3rd minute of stoppage time. And, despite the fact that Minnesota tried their best to get that equalizer and had just boatloads of chances to do so, they weren't able to do so, as the Galaxy were able to hold on to win 1-0 in this one. As the shots in this one, 21 shots compared to 10 that the Galaxy had, 6 shots on goal compared to 1 that the Galaxy had, 8 shots off target compared to 4 that the Galaxy had, 7 shots that was blocked compared to 5 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 48% possession compared to 52% possession that the Galaxy has in this game. And by the way, with this win, the Galaxy was momentarily at the top of the Western Conference, but since SKC, of course, won their game, they were able to retain that spot. But you can definitely sense that this team is trying to go head-to-head with some of the best team. Now, obviously, the question is, when they do once again play against some of those best teams, can they able to get themselves all 3 points against those tough teams? Because at least in the early part of the season, we saw when they played some of the best team like a Seattle and like an SKC, and they weren't able to walk out with victory. Well, actually not SKC, because I don't think they play Sporting KC yet. But yeah, if they can, of course, are able to face those teams and able to walk away with a victory or even a draw, I think they definitely could be a team that could be competing for some of those best teams in the Western Conference. Because I know right now, for me, I still think it's going to be Seattle and SKC, the one that might be dueling out to see who is the best in the Western Conference. But the Galaxy are definitely making a case that they could definitely be there, and it's certainly not Minnesota United, because again, as much as I really want this team to be that team to compete some of the best team in the Western Conference, like a Seattle or a Sporting KC, there's only one problem with that, and that's their finishing. This team finishing is just so bad this season, and I talk about this a lot with this team, because this team finishing has always been bad, at least for the last couple of years, and unless if it's not fixed, that's the only reason why they're not going to be competing for the Western Conference. And again, I'm just hoping eventually somebody will step up, and some of those guys that should be producing, like Adrian Hunou, and like when Franco Fragapane eventually come back from injury, and even Reynoso, who I know Reynoso is more of a playmaker, but if he can start to maybe help himself and his team to score some goals, then maybe I'll start believe that this team can be competing some of the best team in the West, because right now finishing is what's holding back this team's potential, and as long as it's not going to be fixed, I don't think Minnesota is going to go as far as they did last season, which is going all the way to the Western Conference Final. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of all 8 of these games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all 8 of this game? And like I said, I'm probably going to upload this video, and this video won't finish upload until very late in the night, so I'm going to schedule this to be published tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.